All right, well, my name is Gail, aka Sunshine, and if you're just tuning in, this is the first episode of the Epic Experience Beyond Cancer series, and tonight we're going to have an interview. It's going to be really cool, so we're glad you've tuned in. All right. A lot of you probably already know about Epic Experience. It was founded in 2012 by Nancy Ferro after her son, Michael, was diagnosed with cancer and then had a hard time kind of getting his life back on track. Since 2012, Epic has hosted nearly 300 campers at the week-long programs that take place in the Colorado Rockies, which are awesome because I've been there. And this year, 2019, Epic is seeking to serve even more survivors, even those who haven't been able to attend a camp yet, through programs like this, the Beyond Cancer series, through regional events and different things like that. So Epic Experience's mission statement is that Epic Experience empowers adult cancer survivors to live beyond cancer. And this is just one small way that we're trying to do that. All right. I am a representative of the alumni team. I attended an Epic camp way back in 2016. The alumni team is the group of former campers that kind of organized this Beyond Cancer series. Again, I'm Gail, aka Sunshine. Sabine, and some of you may know people by their camp names, so I'll give you their camp names. Sabine, aka B. Linda, aka Yard Sale. Brad, aka B-Rad, Gloria, aka Glorious B-I-G, Jordan, aka Specs, and Jessica, aka North. So we are the alumni team. There's 7 of us right now, and our goal really is to help campers stay connected through regional events, through things like this, and especially through social media. So that's kind of what we're doing. Okay, and again, if you're just joining us, this is our first episode of the Beyond Cancer series that is being put on by Epic Experience, and we're going to be joined by a very special guest shortly. For now, I'm just kind of giving some background information. This Beyond Cancer series, the goal is to focus on life after treatment, all the various different aspects of it, relationships, jobs, finances, physical issues, exercise, mental well-being, a whole slew of topics. Tonight's topic is survivorship, and we'll get more into that. This series is for former, future campers. It's for their family and friends. We're going to be doing it from the Epic Experience public page, so anyone can jump on and look. We're going to be doing interviews like we are tonight. We're going to be talking with presenters, people who are experts in the field in these different topics. And if you have any ideas for future topics, you can email them to one of the alumni team members, and that's Sabine, and her email address is sabine@epicexperience.org. And we're also going to post all these the slides from tonight with this video on the Epic page once it's all over. So if you didn't get that email address, it will be there. All the information that we do in this, the series that we're going to be presenting, is for informational purposes only. This is kind of our disclaimer. So it's not intended to replace a doctor's orders or diagnosis or any other independent professional judgment. So please just keep that in mind. And again, the full disclaimer will be posted with the slides on the page afterwards. All right. Tonight's topic is survivorship. And according to the National Cancer Institute, the National Cancer Institute and the American Cancer Society, as of 2016, there were 15.5 million cancer survivors in the United States alone. And they expect that number to increase to 20.3 million in the next 10 years, so by 2026. That's a lot of people who are living in the United States with cancer. And that's why this topic of survivorship is so important and reaches so many different people. That's millions of people who are dealing with survivorship. So this idea of survivorship focuses on every aspect of life, health, social interactions, relationships, medical, physical, all those different aspects of life post-treatment. It covers the physical, the psychosocial, the economic, all those different issues that are related to cancer. A recent study, according to, again, the National Cancer Institute and the American Cancer Society, indicates that about 22% of people who have had cancer have symptoms of PTSD. That's how strong the impact is and lasting the impact can be 6 months after diagnosis. Which is, again, one of the reasons why Epic Experience even exists, is to kind of come along and help these survivors press on and move beyond cancer. All right, again, if you're just kind of joining us, I'm Gail, aka Sunshine, and I am leading tonight's first episode of the Beyond Cancer series put on by Epic Experience, and we're glad that you could be with us. We're going to have a very special guest coming shortly. So another aspect of survivorship, and some of you who are watching, you can kind of send me a message. When you think of survivorship, what do you think of? These are some examples. One person said survival was not one condition, but many. It was desperate days of depression and lying awake at night. Another person, when we asked, what is survivorship, said it was the joy of eating Chinese food for the first time after battling radiation burns. Another person said it's living with scanxiety and constant fear of relapse. And one more person said it's living beyond cancer, appreciating, loving life more than before cancer. So if any of you are watching and you have input on what cancer or what survivorship is for you, I'd love to hear that. All right. Well, our very special guest tonight is none other than Michael Ferro, aka Traintracks. Michael is he's the reason Epic Experience even exists. He's going to tell you more about his story, so I don't want to tell you the whole thing. But he was diagnosed when he was just 23, and then really kind of had a hard time getting his life back on track. And as a result of that, his mom, Nancy, started Epic Experience to kind of help adult survivors live beyond cancer, get going again after treatment and all of that is all over. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to have an interview, and I'm going to see if Michael is here so that I can invite him. Excuse me while I do my awesome technology here. I do not see him on my list. So we're just going to wait a second for Michael. So in the meantime, does anybody have anything they want to share about survivorship? Please feel free to put it in there. There's Michael. All right, let me invite him and we will hold on. Why isn't it showing him? Oh, it is not allowing me to invite Michael. Hold on. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Michael is here, but I'm not. There he is. Hey, Michael, as we speak. And so what we're going to do after Michael gets on.
Hello. How are you?
Michael Ferro, a.k.a. Traintracks.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
All right. So before we dive in, I just want to remind, if you're just joining us, this is the first episode of the Epic Experience Beyond Cancer series that's being put together by the Alumni Team. And tonight we're talking survivorship, and we're going to interview none other than Michael Ferro, who is kind of the reason why Epic even exists.
Happy
So
to be here.
I am so glad you're here.
Of course.
All right. So
yeah, thanks for doing this.
Hey, I'm glad we could.
Yeah.
This is pretty new technology for me. You know, I'm learning it though.
Yeah. Well, that's how you learn, right? Just jump right in.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask Michael some questions. If you have questions of your own, we're going to have time at the end where you can type them in as a comment, and then I will ask them. But if you can hold them until the end, and then I'll be able to see them more easily when we get to the end. Okay? All right. So, Michael, at first, if you can just briefly share your cancer story. I introduced who you were just briefly.
Sure.
But if you can kind of go into a little more of your story.
Yeah. So I guess I would say it started when I was about 11 or 12 years old, actually. I went in for a routine physical for one of the sports that I had to, again, get a physical for. And I went in, and when I went in, the doctor had noticed that I had a testicle that had randomly gone up into my abdomen. And at that point, again, I was 12 years old, and the doctor had told me, hey, by the age of maybe around 18, you need to start checking for bumps or anything like that. And again, I was 12 years old, so I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. And then essentially my last year of college, I was getting ready to graduate, and in the shower, I felt a pretty big bump, and I thought it was maybe a zit or a wart or something like that. And again, I was 23, so I was kind of ignoring it.
Right.
And so I let it be for a couple months, and then finally I called my parents when they were still living in California, and I said, hey, I need to go to the doctor. I think I've got something going on. And then my mom came out for the first appointment, and I remember coming out of that appointment, I remember sitting down next to her, and I looked at her, I said, yep. I said, everything's going to be okay. We're just going to go to the next appointment. And that was all I remember. I kind of explained to my mom and some other people sometimes that I kind of blacked out from it a little bit. I don't really, and that's why, to this day, I'm very thankful that my mom and my brother were able to be in that appointment with me, because I didn't know what was going on. Again, it was kind of that blackout phase where, again, you're hearing these words, but you're really not sure how to comprehend it.
Right.
So, yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And from there, it was just appointment after appointment, and then we started kind of the process.
Okay. And then I mentioned, I don't know if you were on, but that you kind of are the reason why Epic Experience exists.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about being the brainchild, so to speak, of Experience?
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the brainchild. I think that credit probably goes to my mom and my brother a little bit more. I think, when I got sick, I was in a very, very dark place. And again, I was 23, was really kind of just getting ready to start my career, wanted to start really getting into dating, starting a family and all that. And my life was just kind of put on hold.
Right.
And, after, coming, doing an experience similar to an Epic Experience camp, I came back, and my mom always said, she's like, it kind of brought me back to life a little bit. And I know that I was in a very dark place for when I got diagnosed. And I know that for many people that I've always spoken with, at least who have been diagnosed with cancer, a lot of us have kind of had that same reaction, right? Like, you get diagnosed, and then it's like, okay, now what? I don't even know what to do with my life right now. And especially for me, again, I was 23 years old. So, my career took a massive pause. My dating took a massive pause. And again, just life was put on hold. But at the end of the day, I look back, and, to me, my parents did a very good job of raising my brother, sister, and I, and just kind of knowing that, like, hey, let's do whatever we can to give back. And that's really kind of what was my idea. As we were kind of brainstorming one day, and I kind of said to my mom, I'm like, Mom, look, we should start something. And, I know I didn't really have the experience or any knowledge of starting an organization like this, where my mom is, as many of you know, my mom, she is, Mama Lou likes to do everything she can possible. So that is, she had 3 children, and she raised us to kind of do the same. But in that, it just meant that we were always doing whatever we could to help other people. And that's really the big thing that I think where I wanted to kind of, that kind of vision of Epic Experience. Initially, it was, hey, let's just do something for guys. Because, again, I was 23 years old, and I saw a need out there. I was like, you know what? Like, guys don't like talking about this stuff. You know, guys have a really tough time finding that kind of safe space to be able to talk about it. And that was kind of my initial goal, is like, hey, let's do something for just guys. But, now that, looking back on these last 7 crazy years, it's pretty incredible to kind of look back and see of all the people that have been involved with Epic through the years. And yeah, I mean, to me, it's very humbling is the best way to put it. I get emotional about it because, it's something that, I always look at it. I mean, when you're diagnosed with cancer, your life, your perspective on everything changes. And, I mean, to me, it's just, I'm very grateful that I've been able to, in a way, God kept me around for a reason. And, I think that reason, has been to create Epic and, be able to build out an experience that would hopefully change the lives of cancer people or cancer survivors throughout the world, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of the ones whose life has been changed. So it definitely is doing what you hoped it would.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's awesome.
And part of what you just mentioned, you said that cancer changes your outlook on everything. Yep. Can you think of like 1 or 2 specific ways for you that cancer changed your perspective?
I mean, at my age, I'll honestly say my career and dating. Career and dating, and then there might be a part 2 of the dating scene. But for my career, I was just getting ready to graduate college. I just started a new job, and I knew that that job may not be the career that I was going to be going in. But it was my first big job out of college, and it was very exciting at the time. And the company I was working for, and I'll give them a name, Enterprise Rent a Car. Big shout out to them. I was in their management training program, and it was a great experience, and they were incredible with me when I was going through all my surgeries and having to take a lot of time off. But I think that was a tough time for me because I had a lot of recovery time over the years of whether it was different doctor's appointments that I had to go to that would last a long time. Having a few major surgeries that would put me out a month or 2 at a time. So that was kind of a big thing for me that, like, again, I was trying to really develop my career, and I really was aspiring to do something big. And, it was just something where, again, it was put on hold. But for me, I think I look back on it and, I truly do believe this after getting diagnosed with cancer is, everything does happen for a reason. And I know some people don't like hearing that, but I truly believe that. I have had some ups. I know a lot of ups and downs, obviously, as we all do. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that, again, we're all living each day to the fullest. And that's all we would need to try and do. I mean, we're going to get through days where it's not going to be, in Nancy Ferro terms, peachy. But at the end of the day, again, you're looking for, again, like, hey, let's just look forward to the next day. And beyond that, that's really all I was trying to do. And again, my career, I'm very lucky. I was able to have a great job working at Remax, huge, real estate brand in the world. Now I'm with a great real estate technology company based out of Australia. I'm their first American. So again, I look back on the years and, I truly do believe everything does happen for a reason. Again, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I truly do believe that. If it weren't for all the tough times, we wouldn't be able to succeed in life down the road.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was my career. And then dating was a whole other escapade. Let's see. I mean, I was 23, had just been diagnosed with testicular cancer. And for many of those who know me, I'm an open book about this. But I did have a testicle removed, and I did have a fake one replaced. And not replaced, but replaced with the original testicle. And, going out, at first, I was very shy. My brother was very good at just kind of helping me get out and about and trying to kind of do whatever I could, or he could, I'm sorry, just kind of lift my spirits. Whether it was going downtown, having a few beers, or maybe having a few more beers and a couple shots, whatever. One of the things that was important, I think, that my brother realized is that, again, I was 23, but that didn't mean that my life was over. I could still go out and have fun. And living in the great state of Denver, or great state of Colorado, we were able to spend a lot of time downtown in downtown Denver. And with that, we went out one night, and I remember wearing a Livestrong bracelet, and it was not long after I'd had surgery. And this gal looks at me, she's like, "Did you have cancer?" And I said, "Oh, actually, yes, I did." She's like, "No, you didn't. You looked way too healthy for that. I think you're lying to me." And then she started wanting to argue. Wow. And then that was that. And then I've had some serious relationships along the line as well. And, I look back to, after getting diagnosed, and, I think for me, it was just, I really wasn't ready to get in a really serious relationship for me. I think cancer affects you in a lot of different ways, from kind of the psychosocial aspect of it, your confidence, knowing kind of for you, like what really makes you happy and really makes you tick was a big thing that I think I was just trying to discover. And again, I was 23. And, then you throw in fertility. Fertility was a big part of the dating and fertility aspect for me. Again, at 23 years old, I wasn't dating anyone at the time, and I was already having to plan for kids. And for me, it was like, I kept looking at my parents. I was like, it doesn't add up. Like, how am I supposed to be able to plan for kids right now when I don't even have anyone I'm dating seriously? So, So, again, it was a struggle, but, I'm happy to say that I think I've finally found the one, and she's probably going to start getting all emotional when she sees that. But, again, I think, as many will say, again, there's a lot of bumps that you're going to hit, but at the end of the day, I think, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So, again, dating isn't easy, especially when you're getting diagnosed with cancer at a young age, especially as a man with testicular cancer, because it's that conversation of, well, how do I tell them, maybe when we start getting intimate, that I have a fake testicle? Will she notice? Those are things that go through your head. As to the same side of it is, I have other buddies of mine who, maybe didn't get a prosthetic. And then, in their scrotum, it's just a simple testicle by itself. And then it's like, well, how do you have that conversation with someone? So, and that's one of the things I'm like, to be honest, I still don't know how to have that conversation. I'm a pretty outgoing, goofy guy. I kind of let my personality take it and go from there. So yeah, that's kind of a short, all-around, encompassing answer, I guess, to that question.
Well, and that actually kind of, there was another question I was going to ask you, is how do you tell someone you had cancer? And I suppose you can tell me what you think, but it depends on who it is.
Yep.
If it is somebody you're thinking about dating, if it's just somebody. So for you, how do you tell somebody, or how have you told somebody?
Yeah, I think I look at it in a couple different views. I think about having to tell an employer. I remember going through some of the interviews, and I had to openly tell someone, they saw gaps in my resume, and I had to explain like, hey, why did you have a gap? And then I had to say, well, I had cancer. And then they I see in their face, I'm like, uh-oh, I think I just got kicked out of the room. Right. So, yeah, I think it's just, I always, you want to try and read every conversation. I think, again, in a relationship, I don't know when a good time is. I think earlier the better. Definitely not something you want to wait to go down the road. But, again, earlier the better for a relationship. And then for a job, again, I think the same thing. I think, again, it's just trying to be as upfront as possible about it. And honestly, I think, if they say, hey, we, as a company, we don't feel comfortable bringing on a cancer survivor, then you don't want to go work there in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good. All right. I'm just going to, before I ask the next question, I just want to remind people that this is the Beyond Cancer series put on by Epic Experience. We are doing episode number 1, and Michael Ferro is here. and we are talking about survivorship. So, all right. Well, how are you involved in Epic today? I know you're kind of the beginning.
Yeah,
but now
I mean, I think for me, I'm on the advisory team, outreach team. So, for me, it's essentially everywhere I go, I'm talking Epic. That's how I look at it. I was just over in Australia, and I had a couple guys coming up to me asking about. They saw I had a Epic Experience T-shirt on, and they're like, "Oh, Epic Experience," and I started telling them about it. But again, it's just I feel like as if you're a part of Epic Experience, you should want to be able to share the story of Epic to be able to give back to others. And that's kind of how I look at it. I want to make sure that for every person that I'm able to encounter, I'm sharing that story of Epic Experience. Because you never know how a conversation like that could either change the way Epic is built for years to come, or for an individual who's just been touched by cancer or their family, So, again, I'm always trying to be open about it as much as I can. I wear Epic gear, if you will, probably on the daily, as I think the rest of my family does. But yeah, I mean, I think again, it's just, that openness to know that, hey, I want to be able to give back to people as much as I can. And my way of doing that is just by connecting others and teaching people about what Epic Experience does and how it can help someone.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to shift gears, I guess, a little bit. What do you wish someone would have warned you about beforehand, whether it's unexpected things that were, you discovered kind of unexpected side effects, unexpected depression or anxiety, unexpected your new normal, anything along those lines? What do you wish? And even either specific to testicular cancer or just kind of in general in terms of survivorship. Yeah,
I mean, I think that one of the biggest things for me would probably be fertility. I didn't know enough about it and everything that goes into it. I've said before, I can't wait to be a dad, and I do believe it'll happen someday. But I guess I didn't think of everything that went into it. And the other part of it is probably the mental health aspect of it. As a guy, and I know a lot of people see me, and I'm kind of this happy-go-lucky guy, but again, I've struggled for sure. We talk about that PTSD, but scanxiety. I know every person who's ever been told they have cancer gets scanxiety because it's a very real thing. And every night, I would say every time I go in for an appointment, I know I do not sleep the night before. Because I know what's coming. And even though I know that 99.9% it's going to be fine, it's still that 0.1% that you don't know. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. But at the same time, like, okay, that 99.9% chance could be like that says, hey, you're going to be fine. But again, that 1% chance, even if it happens, you know what? Like, I feel like now I look back and I'm like, I don't want to say this, but I think I would be more prepared now because of, being through an experience like that and kind of knowing like, hey, here are some things that you want to look out for. Make sure you really focus on your mental health. I mean, I think it is so important that a lot of people ignore. And again, especially as guys, I don't want to underestimate that. Guys are, again, they want to be macho and they want to be tough for everybody else. But I think a lot of times when you're getting beat down and being told that, hey, you have cancer, that's a very hard thing to take in on your own. And I think it's a lot of people, whether it's stubbornness or humility or I don't know what it is, just having the understanding and knowing that it's okay to ask for help. For me, having my family around, again, I think they all know me pretty well, and they were all able to kind of, again, they know the things that helped pick me up. Colin was very good about, getting me through, my dark times, and, my entire family was. So I look back at it, and the biggest thing is just, making sure that, you are putting yourself around people that have your back, because there are going to be people that are out there that simply cannot take it or cannot handle it. And, the one thing I will say is that when I got diagnosed at 23, I felt like my maturity level had to really, let's just say fast forward to being 50 years old.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know, and I would look back at other people, and again, you just get to a point you don't sweat the small stuff anymore, and your perspective on life as a whole is completely changed. And again, I just look at every day as, you know, you wake up and you're grateful.
Yeah. You just mentioned scanxiety. How do you deal with it? So, you know, everybody, how do you personally keep yourself from freaking out? Or do you?
I'll be honest. I'll let you know when I figure that out.
Okay.
Again, I mean, again, I mean, I'm almost 11 years out, and well, I am over 11 years out. And yeah, I still don't know, to be honest. You know, there are times that, you know, I'll have a few glasses of wine, or maybe, you know, more than a few glasses of wine, just so I can help me sleep. You know, or I'll try reading a book or something like that, or I'll go to a movie, or, you know, or maybe just try and go to sleep really early. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question for me, just because I know like I have a tough time with it. You know, because again, it's that, you know, kind of thought in the back of your head, like, can this come back?
Right.
So, you know, again, the doctors are like, oh, well, there's a maybe a 3 to 5% chance that it can come back now. I'm like, oh, that's great. Thanks for telling me that number.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just trying to, again, it's mindset and attitude. And I think putting yourself around people that, you know, have your back. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Another one. How have you found hope and happiness? You've kind of touched on this, but in the midst of all the hardships, how have you found hope and happiness? Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I think, I mean, it sounds cheesy. My girlfriend, I think, has had a lot to do with that in the last couple of years since we started dating. You know, just being able to kind of be goofy, be myself, has really changed, again, in the last 2 years for me. I think, you know, looking kind of big picture, you know, it's just, again, I think I go back to my parents, just because I think my mom and dad just did a very good job of kind of teaching us to, again, always put others before ourselves. Right. So that was kind of the big thing that for me, it's just, you know, I wanted to try and do whatever I could on that front.
Okay. All right. Another one. Well, actually, if you just joined us, just a reminder, this is Epic Experience. We're starting a new series called Beyond Cancer. This is episode number 1, and we are talking with Michael Ferro, who is a testicular cancer survivor. So next question, what is one unexpected positive event or outcome that you have experienced since your cancer diagnosis and treatment? You mentioned everything happens for a reason. Yep. So I'm wondering, what's one positive, unexpected positive event or outcome that you've experienced?
An unexpected event or outcome. You know, honestly, like, kind of a joke, but so in 2007, that was the year I got diagnosed with cancer. And it started by, and I haven't really shared this yet, but started with finding a brain tumor in February 2007. And then the testicular cancer in August 2007. But the unexpected event was getting ready or healing up from my big surgery I had on my stomach. You know, that put me in the hospital for 6 days and essentially had me not moving for a few months. I go back to work, and I think I was back to work for maybe a couple weeks, if that. And I slipped on ice, broke my ankle in 3. And I remember, and this was when I was at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Big shout out to them because they've always been very helpful for me. I fell on the ice. And there was a gentleman from across the way that was at one of the car dealerships, came over and saw me because I was just screaming for help because no one saw me. So I'm screaming for help, and then all my coworkers come outside, and the ambulance comes. And I'm obviously very upset, very angry, because, again, I'm just getting healed up from my big surgery on my stomach, and I'm really kind of just getting back on my feet. And the paramedics come over, and they're trying to give me IVs and trying to have me calm down. And, like, you know, really trying to get me to calm down, saying, sir, you're going to need to calm down before we can do anything. And my boss, excuse me, looks at him and says, I would not be telling this man to calm down right now. And he lifts up my shirt, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll treat him a little differently now. But that was a big thing. But, you know, again, I look back, you know, my year of 2007, getting the brain tumor, then cancer, and then, you know, breaking my ankle in 3 places to end it. I was just like, really, God, like, what else is there that you want to kind of throw my way? A lot of people are recommending that I should have gone to go buy some lottery tickets. I never did, but
yeah, really.
Yeah, that I mean, if you say an unexpected outcome, that was definitely something that I was not expecting at all, because, you know, at that time I was really just kind of focusing on getting healed from all my operations from cancer. But yeah, so then I decided to have a couple more operations on my ankle instead.
Awesome.
When life reigns, right?
Right. All right, I'm going to ask you 1 or 2 more, and then I am going to open it up. So if you are watching and you have some questions, you can type them in there, and I will ask them. So this is kind of 2 parts. Have you been given advice like cancer cures, like eat kale or drink more lemon water or inject vitamin C or whatever? So if you have, how do you kind of deal with those people and that advice?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't agree in homeopathic kind of things. You know, I just flat don't. I know, you know, there are many that obviously believe in, again, the couple things that you just mentioned. But, you know, for me, I've always just, you know what, like, I want to focus on getting my body healed. And for me, I think there are plenty of doctors who went to years of schooling to be able to kind of figure out the best ways to get through, whether it's surgeries, whether it's maybe a chemo or radiation. You know, I don't believe in doing a lot of those things. I mean, obviously, I do believe in, you know, taking care of your body, eating healthy, and exercise, which is, you know, important. But, you know, I think there's a lot of kind of old wives' tales out there that a lot of people think, hey, well, I'm going to try this because I read it on WebMD or Google or something like that. I've said to many people, the internet is the worst, absolute worst thing for when you get diagnosed with any kind of illness. Because, again, you start looking up side effects, and then, you know, by the end of a 5-minute website, you're growing a 11th toe. So, you know, yeah, it's just, again, I don't believe in it. I truly trust the doctors. And one thing that, you know, my mom's done, both my parents have done a great job at is just making sure, you know, always having the best care. You know, you know, everything costs money, you know, but at the end of the day, I think my parents, you would still ask them, they would not care what dollar amount it was. There was no question about it, as long as I was getting the very best care possible. You know, I know they had to make a lot of sacrifices, you know, when I got sick, and, you know, they were, you know, we were all on the same page that, you know, we wanted to work with the doctors, and I was not about to, you know, start going on different dietary restrictions or, you know, become a vegetarian or anything like that. You know, that's one thing for me. Like, I'm still going to enjoy my life. You know, we have a good family friend of ours. He's passed away now, but I remember when Andy passed away, one of the things he told me was, you know, he's still going to enjoy his steak.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, you're given a diagnosis or whatever it is, you're still going to enjoy your life and not going to put your life on hold. And that was one of the big things I think that I learned over this entire process.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you one more, and then we'll open it up for questions. So if you're listening and you do have questions and you want to type them in there, go for it. So you've talked a lot about your family, and they are obviously a huge support system. Do you have tips for someone or must-haves in terms of a good support system, maybe even for people who don't have the family ties necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, at 23 years old, I learned a lot in some of the friendships that I had at the time. And, you know, over the years, I've some of those relationships have changed. You know, I think for me, it's important that you find that circle of people who, you know, are always going to have your back, you know, and that can be whether, you know, if you're part of the Epic Experience family, that could be other people that you've gone to camp with. That could be other people that, you know, maybe you met at a doctor's office and you just hit it off, and maybe they started understanding you in a way that maybe no one else ever did.
Right.
You know, because I think, again, being told that you have cancer, you know, again, it's something that not many people have gone through. And,
Right.
you know, it's one of those things that, again, it is difficult to kind of find that support system. You know, and, you know, like my family, again, it's the five of us. And, or, I mean, we're adding on to that group now, but, I mean, before that, it was the five of us. And, you know, it's, you know, we all dealt with it differently. You know, there was a conversation my dad and I had one time, and, you know, I was really emotional one night, and my dad looked at me and said, "Michael, I know what you're going through." And I said, "Dad," and I'm not going to repeat this, I can't repeat this on the internet, but I said, I didn't say some very nice words back to him. And I said, "Dad, you're never going to know what it feels like." And, you know, I know that my mom, my brother, my sister, and my dad, you know, they all know that. And they know that, again, the experience that I was given and being told those words of "you have cancer," that's something that I have to go through. Right. And it's not, you know, yes, they're going to be part of that journey, but for me, it's something that I kind of have to deal with. And that was a big part for me of kind of having to kind of rediscover myself a little bit, of, you know, having that kind of confidence in myself and having that ability to be like, "All right, Michael, it's going to be okay. We don't know," again. And the big thing is, in Ferro words, everything's going to be okay. We just don't know what okay is.
Yep.
And I mean, you know, my mother, I'm sure you've heard that saying before.
I have heard that. I have.
Yes.
I have repeated that now that I've heard that.
Yep. Yeah. But that's, I mean, that's really how I view it. You know, you're going to get hit, you know, a lot. And at the end of the day, all that matters is how you get up. And, I think at the end of the day, you know, having a good support system is very important. But, you know, even if, you know, maybe you aren't that close with your family, like, reach out to maybe some other people that, you know, good friends, you know, start getting coffee with them, start opening up with them a little bit more. They might understand or see a different side of you or aspect of you that they may have not in the past.
Interesting, yeah.
And it's just good to, again, I think, good to talk about it. You know, I'm one of those guys that in the past I was not the one to talk about kind of how I felt about stuff, but, you know, over the years I've noticed the importance of being able to do that, and again, being able to do that also I think will help build out the support system.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good point. Okay, does anyone who's listening have a question for Michael other than the somewhat goofy ones that I've seen posted?
I can't see the questions, but I would love to know what they are.
All right, well, here you go. Here's one.
Okay.
Michael,
I'm an open book.
What's that?
I'm an open book. Most people know that.
Oh, no. Well, no, this is going to make you laugh. Michael, has your recent journey led you to realize that the Packers are now your favorite team?
Oh, thanks, B-Rad.
Yeah, see, and you knew that was fun. I'm not going to repeat your brother's because he uses the Trojan word.
Oh, well, but the USC Trojans.
Right.
Yes.
I'm a UCLA fan here.
I know you are.
I do have a serious question.
Yes.
What advice would you give a newly diagnosed patient, a patient in treatment, and a survivor of multiple years? So you have advice for those different stages. So somebody who's like you're sitting there in the doctor's
brand new,
office, just diagnosed, then someone who's in treatment, and then someone who's survived for a couple of years.
Yeah. So for the first timer who's just starting out, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be very difficult. It's not easy. You're going to be throwing a lot of different terminologies, a lot of different sayings, a lot of different numbers and percentages and chances and everything like that. And a lot of it is kind of like, I mean, for me, that's all I was hearing. You know, again, I was told I just had cancer, and then I'm being told, "Hey, here's your chance that you're going to make it." You know, and going into my first big surgery that I had on my stomach, you know, the doctor immediately starts talking about, "All right, well, here are the risks. Here's what can happen. And again, here are the chances and percentages that you can die on the table." And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Wow.
Like, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that.
Right.
So I think that was a tough part, you know, but I think, you know, for me, like a lot of it was, again, it was that support system and having people who would be able to kind of, in a way, kind of calm your nerves a little bit. You know, for me, again, it was, my anxiety obviously went through the roof, and it was just important for me that I was just trying to do whatever I could to stay calm. That was probably the biggest part of it, you know, early on. I'd say after, like post-surgery, right? As a 23-year-old guy, you know, I was still very active, and it was having to tell my mind that I need to slow down, and my body needs to recover. So I think that was a big part of it. And again, just knowing that, all right, I've got my whole life ahead of me. Like, I don't need to go do everything right now. I remember not long after one of my surgeries, we were going to go to a Rockies baseball game. And my mom, you know, I had said, you know, let's go to a game. I think I'm okay, you know, to go to a game. I just want to get out of the house. And I think we made it through 3 innings. Oh, God. And I felt terrible because my mom got, you know, she got us really good seats, and, you know, so I could try to be as comfortable as possible. And again, 3 innings through, I was in a lot of pain. So I think a big thing is just, you know, letting your body kind of tell you your limits and not pushing it too much. Would be something that I would definitely encourage. And then,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then, I mean, I would say, again, being 11 years out, life is all about perspective. And I truly do believe, and I said it earlier, you know, again, God only gives you a certain amount that you can handle. I feel like I've been dealt a lot over my 34 years. But I look back and I think that I am beyond grateful that, you know, I've had the challenges that I've had, because I think it's gotten me to a point now, you know, in my career, in my personal life, in my love life. I mean, you name it. It's gotten me to a point now that, you know, I can be kind of who I always was, if you know, like, I mean, it's kind of a weird way, but like I had these masks on that, like, I was kind of trying to maybe be someone I wasn't at times. And that's just one of the things that I've learned over the last 11 years, that, you know, at the end of the day, again, every day is a new day. You're going to have your challenges that you deal with, but at the end of the day, you know, you're alive and kicking. You know, be grateful for what you have, and, you know, take each day for granted. You know, and just enjoy life. That's how I look at it. And, you know, I know there are times that I don't do a perfect job at that still, you know, and like I said, it's something that we're always still trying to do better at. But, you know, for me, it's perspective. You know, being told those words, you have cancer. It makes anybody just kind of, it's like that wake up call, like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I think, you know, just knowing that, you know, you've been dealt a rough deck, but, you know, how are you gonna bounce back? How are you gonna get up and fight back?
All right. And if you have just joined us, again, this is Epic Experience. We're putting on a new series called Beyond Cancer. This is episode number 1, and we are interviewing Michael Ferro. So I have another question from the audience.
Yes.
This one is, I know you and your family started Epic Experience, which is amazing. However, did you ever suffer from depression? And if so, what helped you get through it?
Yes, I did. I think I still do every once in a while. You know, that's one of the reasons I talk about mental health so much. I think it's very important for especially guys who have been diagnosed with cancer. Because again, I think there's a lot of aspects of cancer that many don't recognize. You know, again, I mentioned again earlier, you know, that phrase of being, you know, macho, right? That's just the perspective that society wants to kind of portray a little bit. And for me, it's you know, it's taken me some time to kind of understand and accept that, you know, it is okay to ask for help. You know, and that's probably the biggest thing that I've kind of realized. You know, I think now it's funny because everywhere I go, if I'm going somewhere, you know, traveling for work or going somewhere new, or just doing any kind of new experience, I feel like I'm always asking questions now, because I really don't care. You know, at the end of the day, like, you know, for me, like, if I'm going to ask maybe a professional who works at a certain company, or if I'm going to ask, if I'm at a restaurant and say, hey, I don't know where the bathroom is, rather than walking around for 5 minutes trying to find it, why don't you just go ask someone right there and say, hey, sir, where's the restroom? Right. And that's kind of my mentality on kind of like my mental health a little bit too, is, you know, just making sure that, hey, like I need some help, you know, can you help me? Right. You know, and at times I think it's tough because you're trying to kind of find those resources and those avenues where maybe in the past you weren't really sure where to even start. Yeah. So I think that's just been a big thing for me, is just, you know, kind of accepting that you know that you need some help, and then kind of figuring out from there, like, all right, well, how am I going to tackle this, and how am I going to take it from here, and, you know, address, you know, the things that I'm going through. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, we have another question. Let me read the whole thing. Do you think social or cultural expectations exist regarding being strong or being a good survivor when it comes to cancer?
Yeah.
Both for men. I mean, you've talked about the macho part, but just for anyone, do you think there's kind of an expectation that we should respond in a certain way?
I do. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that, I mean, the way, let's just say, media has kind of portrayed cancer survivors at times makes us out to be these kind of Captain America type people who are completely invincible and, you know, don't have any issues and it's never hard or anything like that, you know. And I see these commercials on TV sometimes. I'm like, are any of these people real? You know, because I think a lot of times, you know, I feel like, yeah, I mean, again, the social norms of being kind of the macho guy, you know, that's one aspect of it. But I think, yes, as a whole, being diagnosed with cancer, again, you're given kind of that badge of, and it's not, one person says, oh, it's kind of like a badge of honor. I'm like, I wouldn't say it's a badge of honor. You know, I think a lot of it is, you know, I think a lot of it has to come with the way society makes cancer survivors be something that the survivor doesn't necessarily want to be, if that makes sense. Like, you know, I think as a survivor, there's some people that, hey, like, I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be looked at as this glorified hero. You know, I just want to be like, you know what, I want to come in, I want to get my treatments done, I want to do my surgeries, and I just want it to be over with, and I want it to be done. Right. And then again, there's others that say, you know what, I want to use my voice, and I want to use my voice to try and, you know, help as many people as possible, or get the word out about cancer, education, you know, which is all fantastic. But yeah, I think it is tough because, you know, I think culturally, you know, or at least, again, society has kind of made cancer a topic that a lot of people kind of have a tough time identifying with at times, even if you're told that you've been told you have cancer, because it's one of those things that some people are scared to even talk about it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone deals with it in a different way. So to say that there's one way to respond to it. Is,
yeah. I mean, you dealt with it probably a different way than I dealt with it, you know, and that would be like that with, I mean, any other survivor we would talk to. Everyone deals with it differently.
Exactly. All right. We got another one here. How did you get your nickname, Traintracks?
So, I have so from one of my big surgeries, it was called a retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, where what they do is they make an incision right below your belly button, open you up, take all your insides out, put it on the table, and then literally zip you right back up. And so what it looks like is I had, you know, one big incision with the scalpel and then staple. So it looks like a set of train tracks.
Hence Traintracks.
And I've also been, I have other ones on Powerball. Powerball is one, Wrecking Ball is another, and then Seabiscuit is another one.
Okay, now I understand the Powerball and what was the other one?
Wrecking Ball?
No, Wrecking Ball. What was the other one? Seabiscuit?
Seabiscuit.
And why Seabiscuit?
So Seabiscuit, the reason why is because, and this, not to backtrack, but again, one of my other health issues was having my brain tumor. And once I had my surgery for my brain tumor, I developed something called diabetes insipidus. And it's not full-on diabetes, but what it did was it put my kidneys in overdrive. So I was always thirsty, and I was always having to pee. So anytime I was in a car, or anytime a road trip, I was not fun to drive with. And again, the reason was because I always had to pee like a racehorse. I always said that. And then we had one person, she's like, "You should be Seabiscuit." I was like, "Oh, I like that one too." Funny. Yeah, but I go by Traintracks.
All right. I think we have time for one more. This is probably a good, happy note to end on.
Perfect.
What is one funny story that happened to you during your cancer treatment?
Oh my goodness.
You probably have. Knowing your family, you might have several, but if you can give us one funny story that happened during your cancer treatment.
Trying to think which ones are G-rated and R-rated.
I was just gonna say probably one that's PG-13.
Yeah. Probably oh man. Because I saw who asked that question, and I think he knows what I'm thinking, but I don't know if I can say it. If you come to the gala, I'll share it with you over a couple cocktails.
Oh. Okay. All
right. A funny story. Probably the time that, honestly, so the day before I was going in for my first appointment, to even know if I had cancer or not. This was like, again, I had called the doctor, said, "Hey, I've got this bump. I need to go to the doctor." So this was that first appointment. And I had never been to a comedy show before. And I go to a comedy show downtown Denver, and I went with a bunch of friends of mine and my brother, and I'm wearing a black Livestrong shirt.
Okay.
And again, it said, the bright yellow says Livestrong. Right. And I'm sitting front row center. And the comedian starts doing his thing and starts making his jokes and everything like that. And some of them are pretty raunchy and whatever. And then he looks at me and he goes, "And look at this guy in the front. He's wearing a Livestrong shirt, acting like he's got cancer or something like that." And I remember looking at my brother. I'm like, "Well, I hope I don't have cancer." So that was kind of the funny story. I remember walking out of there, like, it was that weird feeling, but also knowing that now I'm like, okay, now the next time I go to a comedy show, don't wear anything that identifies you, or don't sit in the front row.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we are just about out of time, but
perfect.
Michael, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
For taking the time to talk about survivorship. And just so everyone knows, we will post this video and the questions and all of this on the Epic website. And please tune in next time. We're going to be doing we'll advertise when we have the next episode of the Beyond Cancer series. And thank you so much for everybody who tuned in, and Michael especially. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Everybody, have a good night.
Bye.